Hey friends, welcome back to another Field and Garden podcast. It is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler from the Gardener's Workshop, and I'm pretty glad you've dropped in here because I have a really special treat for you today. I am bringing you something people have been asking me about for years. Friends, I am happy to introduce Bobo, my Bobo. A lot of people call her, we want a Bobo, and this, friends, is Bobo Smith. Hi, Bobo.
Hello, Lisa.
So Bobo and I are sitting here together in front of a bank of flowers. And so I'll tell you all a little bit about Bobo, and then we're gonna just start a chit chat and fill in some of the blanks because we get so many questions about Bobo. So Bobo was a customer. Gosh, how long ago was that, Bobo?
15 years.
15 years ago.
Something like that.
One of my hustling efforts to sell flowers back then was we had a friend that owned a theater that was on the busiest corner in town, and they let me on Friday afternoons set up there and sell flowers. And Bobo, the first time she pulled up in this big blue Suburban, and she came trotting in looking like she kind of knew what she was, all about. And I can still remember, do you remember this? I can still remember.
I remember what I bought.
Yeah, so she came in and I had all my buckets set up with all the, of individual flowers. And she came in and she said, I'll take, that bucket of stems, and I'll take this and that and this and that. And she named it all. And the whole time I was thinking, do you think she knows how much these flowers cost? She was just buying a lot of flowers. And as it turns out, Bobo was with the Flower Guild of a local Episcopal church, and they do big flowers every week. And so that was kind of how we became friends. And you were my customer probably, was it about a year or a whole season?
It was in the spring that I bought them because I remember I bought corn cockle.
Yes. Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I guess I bought snaps, and I can't remember what else I bought that time. But I just kept coming back because it was so easy to come get flowers there.
Yeah. So when did you apply for, did I ask you? It was a couple of years, wasn't it?
No, what happened was you had the flower arranging supplies then. And Suzanne did the video. You asked me if I'd do the video doing the tutorial of how to use
flower frogs.
Yes, all the stuff we sold.
Oh.
So we had even a little bit more of an introduction with me doing that.
Right.
And then you said you were going to expand your business and you needed more help.
So that was, we're guessing 12 years ago, 13 years ago.
Something like that.
So that's when Bobo came to work here. And so I do remember that during our job interview.
Yes, that's very important. You have to put that in.
So during the job interview, I asked her questions. We already knew that she was a hustler. I mean, that's kind of the requirement to be on a flower farm, right? So I had finished asking my questions, and then Bobo asked me,
well, Lisa, we've worked the whole day and we haven't had lunch yet.
So
I said, I can't work if I don't have lunch.
So up until that point, I had been working. I just pretty much worked till I couldn't work anymore. I never braked for lunch. And so Bobo is the one that established the rule that at 12 o'clock on a work day, all stops, right?
Yeah.
So that we can have lunch. And so it's like the Bobo lunch rule. The dinger goes off at noon.
Actually, I started making you and Suzanne sandwiches. Remember, and I put your names on them because you had different requirements.
I forgot that. So Bobo even brought lunch with her to work because Bobo also, I mean, just a little bit about her past, was, would you call that a personal chef?
Yes.
So her business was, she was a personal chef, meaning she didn't cater, but she would come into your home and cook for you. And so she's quite an awesome cook also, right? So tell people what it's like working here on the fly. First off, what was the most surprising thing besides the fact that we didn't eat lunch?
I guess the so I started, I'm trying to think, maybe I started in the spring one year.
Yeah, probably.
I guess the most surprising thing is that even though you know, maybe you've had background at home with a home garden, my dad always had a vegetable garden, and I piddled around with flowers and stuff like that at home. It's a whole different process, so you have to learn that process.
Yeah.
But hot, it's very hot in the summer. You have to get used to that.
Yeah.
And it's very dirty if you're doing leaf bags or that sort of thing. So, and it's work. It's really, I mean, it's if you like work,
Right.
it's fine, but it would not suit some people because
Right.
it's really a full day of work.
A physical
Yeah.
work. So it's not really the kind of job, and if you're in flower farming already, you may know this, that, you know, that you're not always suitable to stop on the way home at the grocery store or.
No, we had the food line rule.
That's right. That's right. We had a food. Tell them what the food. We have a food line. Food line is our local grocery store for you.
The closest one.
Is the closest grocery store here, and there was a food line rule. Tell us what the rule
So
is.
the rule was you'd look at the other person you've been working with all day, and you'd say, "Am I too dirty to go to Food Lion?" Usually it was like, "Nah, you're all right. Other people go there after work. You just have a different kind of job."
It's true, and I can remember, this is aging me. Back in the days where we would have to go to the bank and wait in line inside, you know, I didn't feel very dirty until I got in the line at Bank of America where we used to bank. And you look around at all the clean people and it would really, you know, kind of make you realize just how different your job is, right?
Yeah, like when I smashed my finger.
Yes.
And Corinne had to take me to the emergency room. It was only like 8:30 in the morning. We were already dirty. Plus I had blood all over me.
Yeah. You know, it's just so very, very different. So what would you say, what's it like day in and day out? We don't really do the same thing 2 days in a row, do we? I mean,
no. So because I've worked here so long, you just tell me what to do. You know, today you're gonna start seeds. Today you're gonna empty leaf bags. Today you're gonna cut. So I just do whatever it is that's in line for that day. And usually I know what it is I'm supposed to do.
and don't you find that that's part of, I mean, I think there's certain personalities that thrive under those conditions where you're not doing the same thing day after day after day.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. And I couldn't be inside all day either. So it suits me very well.
And so in addition to Bobo, you know, just being like the other half of me here for all these years, during those years that we were doing workshops here.
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
forgotten about
Yeah.
that.
So we've done so many crazy things. So probably about 10 years ago, we started doing on-farm workshops, really before a lot of people were doing them. But we did them right. We served breakfast
That I cooked.
and lunch, and then even for some of the big boot camps, we served dinner. So what we would do is, I mean, I would gather up all the foods and Bobo would prepare. So when we did boot campers, because they came from all over the country, right? And there was usually about 30 to 35 people, I think. And the local hotel would bus them over here in their vans. And we had a welcome dinner the night before boot camp started. And then the next morning,
you made pound cake.
That's right. And I made pound cakes. And the next morning they would show up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd have breakfast, egg casseroles. Then we would do learning. Then we would have lunch, which was, you know,
I made homemade dessert.
Yes, cookies. And then usually that evening we didn't feed them. It was just the welcome night. So, I mean, we made some eggs.
Tablecloths.
Oh yeah.
Flowers on the tables and.
Oh my goodness. So Bobo basically took my kitchen over and So our building that we're sitting in here in front of these flowers, this is our work building. And so my home is across the driveway, and which had a big carport on it. And that's where we would serve everything. So it was a lot of work, but we had so much fun. And we met some long-term friends at those things, you know,
and you would
that
do
were
classes in here.
Right.
Well, you do the
Right.
classroom part in here and then go
Right.
out in the field.
Yep. So we would do classwork in here, and yeah, that's right. And then we'd walk outside and cut flowers. And that's where we met Anne, who works with us now. She came from North Carolina. She's a virtual worker. So that was really fun. So Bobo and I have done some pretty crazy things together. There was this one time that I think we scared poor Corinne to death.
Corinne was one of our outside help workers.
Yes.
One of the many that
Yeah.
have gone to do other things.
Yes. So Corinne, was hired as to work here on the farm. And she was actually an artist. She's the one, if you've ever seen the artwork, the color drawing of my farm, the big farm, Corinne's the one that did that. And so Corinne and Bobo and I were here working, and that was back what we call the high production years, which means we had a boatload of beds here. Well, it was either late spring or early summer, and we were netting, putting up the flower support netting. And I go to the building where we keep all that stuff, and guess what? We were out of netting. But we did have a roll of vertical netting. That is like, it's twice as long as regular netting. It's made to be a trellis. And I said, all right, we've got to be able to figure this out. So I thought, why don't I have a torch. I have a torch. We will just cut it in half, right? Well, first off, Corinne was terrified that we were going to like explode or something. She went to the other side of the farm and watched from behind the zinnias.
Do with it.
And we attempted it, and it was really a lot of fun, but it really didn't work, y'all, as you probably have already, would have already thought that. But we were that desperate. What happened is it did cut it in half, but it melted the ends all together, so you then couldn't unroll it. So
I think we still tried to use,
we attempted. We
We
were pretty desperate to get stuff. I mean, we had a lot of beds that needed to be netted. So Bobo and I have been through a lot of stuff together.
the owls.
Oh, that's right. And then there was the owl that got injured here on the farm. And I mean, it's just been a lot of good stuff through the years. But we both just keep coming back for more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our parents passed away during that time. Both of us lost both. We lost all of our parents, and going through the crazy weather.
Yeah. Hurricanes. We've had to do that.
All kinds of crazy stuff.
No power.
Yeah, good gracious. So, what's life like working on a flower farm? It's like cutting the flowers. I mean, we've used trucks for harvest.
Yeah.
Trailers.
With the propped up
Shade cloth.
Yeah, propped up shade cloth. Then we used to use the big trailer and filled it up with how many buckets fit on that thing?
Oh my gosh, endless buckets. And then we'd fill them up. So it's just been a whole lot of, So what are some of the different jobs that, if you go through, what would some of the different jobs that you've done through the years?
So before we had the bed making tractor,
Oh my gosh.
we made all the beds
by
by
hand.
hand.
And then we made them by hand and put Bio 360 down on them.
Yeah, yeah. And we made that tool. Libby and I made that tool.
Yeah.
So we know how to walk it off. So it said bed, pathway, bed, pathway.
A measurer.
And then we strung the string to the end. And that was on our hands and knees, scraping the dirt onto the edge of the Bio 360. Yeah. Those were the days we weren't sure we could drive home.
Yeah. We were so tired. Well, I didn't have to drive home, but yeah. And that was when we got Big John, the John Deere tractor, and the bed making implement, and it changed our life.
Yeah, it really did make a big difference. It wasn't so physically grueling.
And it allowed us to not only have better morale, but it let us double and triple what we could do. I mean,
Yeah, because I think we used to say we could make 3 beds in the morning when we weren't tired, but we couldn't get 3 in the afternoon.
exactly. Yes. No, that's a good point. Yeah, when you're fresh and bright in the morning, you could tackle them. And that was the 3 of us.
Yeah.
With a walk behind tiller with a hiller on it, the Bio 360, a couple of hand hoes, and I mean, and then you couldn't plant. I mean,
Yeah.
you were tired.
And then the things that people don't know is, you know, you had to carry the cinder blocks out.
Yeah.
Put the Bio 360
Yeah.
on the roll and then roll it out and then make sure it didn't blow away before you
Right.
scraped all the edges
Oh
in.
my gosh. Yeah. So, and then all those seeds had to be started, but Bobo is now the seed starter.
Kelly did it for a while.
Yeah, Kelly did it during our high production years. So after we made those beds, there were lines of transplants to be planted.
And also the warehouse was in here, so that was going on at the same
Yes.
time.
Oh my gosh. That's right. And so then there was all that planting. And then you have to think about,
And the seeds went back and forth.
yes,
Be the ones we had to keep some here, and then
Right.
some went to just Sarah to be
Right.
packaged.
right. And then, so spring wasn't as bad as early summer, because in early summer, you're cutting flowers, starting flowers, planting flowers, selling flowers all at the same time.
Yeah, that's selling flowers. I'd even forgotten about
Yeah,
that.
so Bobo,
Bouquet making.
yep, so Bobo has done seed starting. She's done planting, weeding, bed making.
I went to the farmer's market.
And so she went to the farmer's market for us. And then she started driving the
Yeah.
van on Fridays to deliver bouquets to our supermarket
And
from Virginia.
and loose flowers too, when Fresh Market bought the
Right,
loose flowers.
straight bunches.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
and I went to shows.
That's right. When we used to do big shopping shows, Bobo would be, I mean, who better to tell somebody how to use that hand hoe than the person that uses it, right? I mean, that's the whole pretense behind everything that we offer for sale in our
And
stores.
we
We
had to
use it.
pack and unpack the
Oh my
van.
gosh. We would pack our van full of all the merchandise, not flowers, merchandise to go to these shows, go to the show and set it up. That would be Suzanne's. Suzanne was the packing organizer. We were the mule.
Yeah, we put it in the crates that bulbs come in.
Yeah. And then, oh my goodness. And then we would travel to shows, and the big show that's about an hour and a half from here, Kelly and Bobo would come up, and whoever else was working for us at that time
Yeah,
to help at the show. Oh my goodness. And then when we were doing supermarkets, which meant a lot of bouquets, we would have a bouquet making assembly line. And it would be Bobo and Suzanne and Grace, sometimes me, but not always me. Depends how desperate they were for help, because I had other things that I was supposed to be doing.
yeah, so we do that on Thursday.
Yeah,
And then I'd have to come back on Friday morning,
yeah.
and you all would have the
Orders.
because you couldn't tell once everything got in the van what was supposed to go. So they made me a little triangular sticker in all the buckets that said this goes to this grocery store
Right.
and that goes to
Right.
that one.
Are you tired? I am just talking about
Anymore.
So yeah.
And then I did Fridays. I did when the people came to
Remember the garden shed.
Yeah, I did that, whether it was inside or.
Right. So the other part of, I mean, we've to have a lot of different pieces of our businesses has evolved through the years. We had our members only flower market that happened here, which was like a private farmer's market, basically. And it would be held in here. And then when COVID came, we did it outside on the carport to have contactless pickup. And so Bobo would man that, because that was either make your own or ask us to make one for you, or pick up a pre-made, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So this is 2022 that we're recording this. So 2021, is this our second year of not selling flowers?
No, this is our first year.
So last year, 2021 was our farewell season of actually selling flowers. We still grow tons of flowers here, but we use flowers in other ways. And like, for our shop and show where we're demonstrating how to, with stage to harvest and all that. So it's really evolved. So Bobo will tell you that the rules have changed on harvesting.
Oh, yeah.
So used to be,
that's been hard. That's been a hard undertaking.
The learning curve. So for all these years, we have harvested flowers when they're at their peak harvest time so that we can get them processed and get them to whoever they're going to at the best stage.
And not eaten. And no crooked stem.
Right. I mean, just all of the perfection, we are very well known for how pristine our crops are, even though we grow outdoors, right, in the field. Well, now that we use our flowers, our gardens are now for education purposes, for filming and videoing and all that kind of stuff, for our courses and for our website. Well, when we added the shop and show earlier, I think we started doing that like in June or July, sometime this summer of 2022.
I don't think we didn't do it with spring.
I think there were a few, because we did have a little bit of snapdragons at the end. So I'm thinking it was probably mid-June or July. So now all of our flowers are harvested, and we want them fully open, unlike we've ever had them before. That's why we can't sell them after the show, because they're already bloomed out. You know what I mean? They're wide. They're doing for us here to show to you what they should be doing in their final resting spot. So now Bobo I see her out there sometimes perplexed looking at a crop. She's thinking in her mind, am I supposed to cut this now or not? Because she's untraining what she's been doing for over a decade, right?
Yeah. I strip flowers at home, strip at work. It's no greenery comes inside. But also you're trying to show the customers, if we cut something that has something's not right with it, whatever it is, you're able to show that to your people on your show on Friday and say, a week ago this would have been perfect, but now you can see the petals are doing this or something. Right.
So instead of dropping them in the pathways, Bobo is now bringing them in a bucket, and that's like a really retraining. Learning curve.
No, I could throw them down pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's perhaps one of the hardest things I can remember hearing at a conference. It was actually my first conference I ever went to for the ASCFG. And I can remember Janet Foss, who was teaching the grower school, said that she didn't have employees then. She had them. But she said the number one reason she doesn't like to have employees is that people are afraid to throw down flowers, meaning they're bringing in blemished flowers.
That didn't do anybody.
And then somebody else has to throw it away after it's been carried in. And Bobo you have mastered it. You understand now what the end game goal is. Until I changed it, of course, this year with the shop and show, which is totally a different card. So, Bobo, you've done just about every job here.
Yeah, I think so. I don't drive the tractor.
That is true.
And I don't use the tiller.
Do you want to learn those things?
I don't want to learn the tiller. And I'm happy not to pound steaks anymore.
That's right. So I'm the steak pounder, and we just don't plant as much as we used to. So it's very, very manageable and doable. And so let's see, what else should we talk about? So I mention on social media all the time, Bobo and I, or Bobo did this or did that. And so everybody, Bobo is willing. This is what's great about our age group, in my opinion. And I'm not saying there aren't young people this way, but there's just more of us. we're just willing to do whatever needs to be done that day.
And we don't have anything else pressing on our time.
Right.
We're not always thinking about,
Right.
do I need to be home for something?
Right.
Or do I need to be somewhere else? Because my work day is my work day, and then I
Right.
just go home.
We're able to focus
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons that, you know, I've told more than one person that tell me they have trouble finding help that really wants to be there. And, you know, I feel like it's the empty nesters. It's people that their kids have gone off, and you're right, they're focused. And then they really are looking for some kind of feeling of accomplishment, I think.
And maybe they've been in a job where they've been inside all the
Yes.
time, or like you said before, maybe they did the same, you know, they went and sat at their computer all day, or they, whatever their job was, they were restricted in what their movement.
So they're really raring to go. And
Yeah.
that reminded me back in the days, when we had people that were volunteers that came here, which you're not really supposed to do. I didn't know it back then. That's first off how we met Rhonda, who is now a big part of the business. She's the warehouse manager. But it makes me think of some of those people that came and volunteered here through them, that we called them friends of the farm. And they showed up on a regular work day. And so here's how we interviewed them. We would tell them to come and wear the proper shoes.
Yeah, that was my requirement.
That was Bobo's requirement, you know, no flip-flops. And if they didn't show up with the proper the proper shoes on, we knew that they wouldn't ever be called back. So we actually had like a tryout period for these people, and they would come here to the farm, and I'm a fast walker. And if they couldn't keep up with me walking, then that was another strike, you know, against them. And so several of them made it through. Rhonda did, Jan did.
I have two good stories about Jan.
Yeah, so Jan, who had just retired from a state job, I think. We got Rhonda there, and we had two other moms that her kids were growing up, and they were just big gardeners, and I don't think it was exactly what they were thinking about, which was this was the way it kind of was worked out. So tell us two Jan stories.
So Jan was here, we liked her, she was working hard. She had on a long sleeve shirt that day, and it must have been really hot. So after lunch, she went in the bathroom and she said, I'm going to go make some alterations. And then she came back out to go to work after lunch, and she cut the sleeve out of her shirt.
And this is why we love women that age.
And then another time, sometimes when we would have to plant and get down the pathways, and your boots would do that.
Oh yeah.
So, not only had it been wet, but Jan was watering, and she got like halfway down the pathway, and she couldn't get her boots out of the mud, and she was stuck. Every time she tried to step out, she stepped out of the boot. But she had the hose. So I told her to hold on to the hose, and I pulled her back in like a lasso using the hose.
And this, friends, is what happens on a flower farm. And you have to have people that are ingenious, have a sense of humor, and are just willing to do anything.
We figured out how to get her out of the mud.
Yeah, I mean, I distinctly remember a picture of Suzanne standing in boots in ankle high water after one of the hurricanes, and we just couldn't get the water out of our garden. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So friends, this is Bobo. And so Bobo, I was going to do this at the beginning. Tell us, how did you get your name?
So being from Virginia, I had a double first name, Ann Barlow. So that was supposed to be my name. But I also have a brother who's less than 2 years younger than I am. So we think that from the Ann Barlow, he started the Bobo. And when I was in elementary school, the teacher would call my name as it was written down on the roll, and she'd say Ann Barlow. And my friends would say, oh no, that's not her name. Her name's Bobo. So between my family and my friends at school, that's just stayed.
So that's how you get a Bobo. So thanks for talking to me.
Yeah. good to go over some of these
Yeah, the craziness.
old stories.
Yeah, so she's watched the farm grow from 2 little 1/4 acre gardens into what is now 2 3/4 of an acre, and we got really big, and then we
Yeah,
squished it
I
down.
remember the day we walked out there to, when it was still the horse pasture, and we walked out there and you told me where it was gonna, where the new line was gonna be, and I mean, we were this high up and whatever was growing out there.
Yeah, and then we actually leased an acre on the back of that too. So we were really crazy back then. And we were really crazy. So, all right. So friends, this is Bobo. Everybody's been
Nice to meet
asking.
you.
And Bobo and I feel like we like our job, so it's not so hard to do, you know?
That's right.
Yeah. And all right, friends. So again, if you want to learn more about the work the Gardener's Workshop is doing, head on over to thegardenersworkshop.com. Tons of resources over there, and we'd love to have you join us. And, you know, if that comes up that you need tools, seeds, or supplies, we have an online garden shop that we sell what we use here on our farm and the stuff that we like. That's what the bottom line is. All right, friends, until we meet again. Ciao.